Most people reach 60 and realize they've been living someone else's life. They followed the path everyone expected, chased goals that weren't really theirs, and avoided the hard conversations that mattered. Women like Jane Fonda, Michelle Obama, and fashion icon Bethann Hardison figured this out early. They made 3 specific decisions before it was too late, decisions that separated them from people filled with regret. Today, I'm sharing those 3 decisions with you. They're about time, identity, and courage. And if you make them now, you'll guarantee a life you're actually proud of. Let's start with the decision that changes everything. The 3 critical decisions that define your future. Decision 1. Decide how you'll spend your time before others decide for you. Michelle Obama had a realization that stopped her cold. She was 60, looking ahead, and realized she might only have 25 to 30 summers left. Not years, summers. When you think about it that way, time suddenly feels real. But here's what most people in their 20s don't get. They think they have unlimited time. They drift through years without intention, letting other people's priorities fill their calendar. The biggest regret people have isn't what they did wrong. It's the years they wasted. Years spent in jobs that drained them, relationships that weren't right, or just going through the motions because they never stopped to ask what they actually wanted. Michelle talks about chapters in life. She recognizes that time moves faster than we think. A decade in the White House felt like it happened in a blink, even though so much happened during those years. The lesson? You have to be intentional about your time, because if you're not, someone else will be. Try this exercise that changed my perspective. Count your summers. If you're 25, you might have 50 summers left. Write that number down. Look at it. Does it feel like enough time to waste another year doing things that don't matter to you? Being intentional about time prevents the biggest regret of all, realizing you spent your life living for everyone except yourself. Decision 2. Decide who you are, not who you think you should be. Jane Fonda spent decades trying to be what other people wanted. It wasn't until she turned 60 that she made a radical decision. She was going to live the rest of her life without regrets, which meant she had to stop pretending to be someone she wasn't. This is where most people mess up. They spend their 20s and 30s trying to fit into boxes other people created. You think you should be the successful executive, the perfect partner, the person who has it all figured out. But here's what Jane learned. Confidence doesn't come from meeting everyone else's expectations. It comes from accepting all parts of yourself early. Bethann Hardison went from being in a gang in Brooklyn to becoming a fashion icon. She didn't hide her past or try to reinvent herself to fit in. She owned her full story. That's the difference between people who age with confidence and those who age with regret. The confident ones decided early who they were, flaws and all. When you're living to meet other people's definitions of success, you're not really living, you're performing. And performance is exhausting. At some point, you have to decide whether you want to be authentic or acceptable. You can't be both. Here's what this looks like practically. Why? Write your real story, not the version you'd put on social media or tell at a job interview. The real one with the mistakes, the weird interests, the parts you think you should hide. That's who you are. Own it now, or spend decades trying to figure it out later. Decision 3. Decide what you'll stand for, even when it's uncomfortable. All 3 of these women have something in common. They chose courage over comfort. Jane Fonda risked her career for activism. Michelle Obama used fashion to send messages about inclusion during her White House years. Bethann Hardison wrote a letter to the fashion industry calling out racism, even though it could have ended her career. The pattern is clear. People who live without regrets are people who stood for something, even when it was uncomfortable. They had hard conversations. They took stands on issues that mattered to them. They didn't wait until they felt ready, because you're never ready. Here's the truth about avoiding hard conversations in your 20s. Those conversations don't go away. They just get harder. The relationship you need to end, the career change you need to make, the belief you need to voice. Waiting doesn't make these things easier. It makes them heavier. Most people think courage is about big dramatic moments, but real courage is smaller than that. It's saying no to the job that pays well, but kills your soul. It's ending the relationship that looks good on paper, but doesn't feel right. It's speaking up when everyone else stays quiet. Think about this right now. What's one thing you believe but haven't acted on? What conversation are you avoiding? What change are you putting off until you feel more ready? That's where your courage decision lives. These decisions compound over decades. When you're intentional about time, authentic about identity, and courageous about your values, you create momentum. Each decision makes the next one easier. But here's what Jane Fonda learned the hard way. Waiting until you're ready means you'll never be ready. The relief that comes from making these choices early is incredible. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop living for other people's approval. You start building a life that's actually yours. The one thing all three women agreed on is this: intentional living prevents regret. Your assignment this week is simple. Pick one decision and make it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. You don't get to practice life twice. Subscribe for more wisdom from people who've figured it out. And remember, the best time to make these decisions was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now.